and welcome to the channel. If this is your first time here, welcome. And if this is your second or third or more times being here, welcome back. Glad you came. Today we're talking about a situation I dealt with some years ago with this guy, and it was a hot mess. So here's another story time. So me and this guy was going to court um, against each other, and I won't go into what the specifics are on that. But we were duking it out in court over a situation. Um, and so, basically, me and this guy, he's been my enemy for a long time. I'll just say it like that. And this is a very, I would say he's a very, kind of a very self-absorbed guy, and just, he's just not a very good person. I'll just put it that way. He's done a lot of dirty things to me, and just the craziness of it all. So, we've been going back and forth to court around this time, kind of duking it out in court. So, around this time, I was also dealing with another situation where I had to file a claim in order to get some money to get paid. And actually, I had already filed it, everything was approved, and everything was a go. So all of a sudden, like I was contacted by somebody from this agency, and it was a woman, and something about her vibe was just really off. Like her attitude was just, she was trying to be professional, but I could feel the tension under it, and I didn't know what was going on. And so next thing I know, I had to fight for this claim now, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like everything was fine, and all of a sudden it just wasn't. So I had to fight for it, and things went from bad to worse after talking to this lady. It was just a mess. I felt like it didn't matter what I said to this woman. It was just going to be a negative outcome for me. Like where did this woman come from? You know what I mean? It was just, where was this coming from? It was just out the blue. So everything had stopped. I was in a mess. It really put me in a situation, I would say, to say the least. But God always has my back. So I fought for it and lost, and um, like I said, just ended up in a situation behind this, and it just didn't make any sense to me. So fast forward a little bit, I would say maybe some months out. There was this place that I used to go to. It was an office out of a college campus. It was a work source office. And these people had a connection to this place that I was having these issues with. And so um, the way God set things up, I got to know this lady who was able to kind of show me how to navigate the paperwork and do what I needed to do. And it was unemployment. And told me what I needed to, who I needed to send a letter to. It was just like she was there and witnessed the fight that I had to go through. And so this was, like I said, this was a work source office that was on a college campus in this city and state that I was in. It's not the place I'm living at now. This was in a whole nother city and state. So this lady was very helpful, and I went through the process. And like I said, I ended up losing. Like my checks were stopped. Um, if I can remember correctly, I think they told me I owed the money back. I can't remember that part, but I do remember my check stopping, and it put me in a situation. And this woman, was trying to help me fight to get my unemployment back on, and it was just a mess. But like I said, God had me. So after I had lost and just kind of had to just survive the best I could at the time and just kind of went on my merry way. A friend of mine, um, I told her about what was happening at that time, and she actually knew this person that I was dealing with in court. And I told her about him and the issues I've had with this dude. And, you know, and if I'm not mistaken, I even told her about the situation with unemployment. And so we were just kind of talking about it, whatever, right? So I would say some weeks later, maybe months later, um, and during this time, we were still kind of in and out of court. I just can't remember how long this went on between me and the guy going to court, right? But my friend came to me one day and she was like, "Hey, did you know so and so?" Okay, we'll call him Andy. "Did you know Andy worked down at the unemployment office?" I was like, "What?" And then I put two and two together. I was like, "Really?" And I was like, And everything started to make sense then. So I was like, "Okay, bet, got it." So I put two and two together, like I said, and I had a feeling or a hunch now, knowing that this person worked there, I knew what had happened. And unbeknownst to him, me and this lady was a mutual friend of ours. And so I remember talking to someone else about my situation, telling this lady about the situation who was the mutual friend, and I was like, yeah, I need to have this investigated. So I went back to that work source office at that college campus, told the people about what I suspected. I said, hey, there's this guy that I know, um, and I told them like about the issues and the relationship concerning this person, and I was like, hey, I think he might have messed with my unemployment, and just told them the strange circumstances around it, basically, how it just suddenly got overturned, and whoever this lady was that called me, I just let them know what happened for the most part. So they got right on it. And here's the thing, I had already had an established relationships with the people out of that particular work source, especially the two people who were really, I would say, really in the position where they could really help me, and they did. Especially the lady who was helping me go through the process. She remembered me, remembered how I was fighting, earlier, like some weeks ago or whatever. And she's like, "Yeah, I remember." And so I told them what happened. Then I guess they found what they needed to find, and oh boy, lost his job. And I want you to understand something. The first time we was in court, you know, this guy was kind of bragging on his job, and like he was just, like this was just, it was what it was, like how people can, try to make themselves sounds like, whatever. Like, I'm just gonna leave it as that. But when we came back to court, by the time we got back to court for our next hearing, he had been fired. And he looked angry, he looked frazzled, he didn't look quite right. It looked like it really just bent his whole world out of shape. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't care. Because if you are willing to crash my financial situation and do somebody else harm and put your job on the line just to do harm to another person, then you know what? Then you need to find that harm done back to you. And after that, I believe my unemployment was restored. Yeah, it was restored. If I can remember correctly, I got back pay. Like everything worked out for me after that, and I was just so grateful. And because of that back pay, I was able to even buy some things that I really needed for my household. It was a blessing in disguise, I would say. And like I said, he no longer had a job. And girl, let me tell you, that dude was so mad that when our hearing was done, I knew that I had to find another exit out of that courthouse, like another exit out of that building, because I knew he had something up his sleeve because, of course, he knew that we were going to be at the hearing. So I don't know what he has set up. And I just felt like he had something set up because he was that type of a scandalous dude. So I I found another way out. I took a different route to where I needed to go. Um, he had no idea where I parked my car at. And so I was, yeah, I made sure I stayed safe when I left that hearing. And I was like, yeah, the look on his face, I just knew what time it was. And as that old saying would go, if you're going to dig a ditch for someone, you better dig two. And he fell in his own ditch in this situation. Um, the Lord really looked out for me, set things up where I had the right people in place that could help me. And you know, the funny part about it was one of the people called me up and told me, "Oh, guess who came in here looking for work?" I was like, "Wow!" I just laughed. And you know, but this guy, he did it to himself. And as for the court hearings go, it's been so long I can't even remember how the hearing turned out. I can't remember what happened with the hearings or whatever, but I just remember being all right after all that had happened, especially with the unemployment. So the key thing I'm talking about is just him messing with my unemployment and losing his job in the process. And you know, there's some people who are used to doing evil things, and you know, they feel like they're invincible. They forget, you know, to count their blessings and to look at how far they've come, and that nobody's, you know, I just feel like, was it really, was it really worth it to do what you did? Because I'm not going to let anybody cause me to lose my job, not if I can help it. And he got a rude awakening, and he suffered the consequences behind it. And the interesting thing about it was, like I said, I didn't feel bad for him at all. I mean, zero at all. I've seen this guy do so much dirt, just in general, heard things about him also. And I'm just like, he was just one of those people that just think that the rules didn't apply to him. And it did that time. So what am I saying? You can only get away with doing dirt for so long. It's going to eventually catch up with you. And you do eventually reap what you have sown. Well, that's my video, you guys. I hope you are enjoying my story times. Please like, share, and subscribe. And tell me about a time when you went through a situation and how your enemy ended up having the situation backfire on them. All right. Have a great one.